Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is another episode of Fire of Liberty, 2017, July 25th. This is a specific, well, of course, for the transcendence of the golden age and enlightenment. This is specifically more about the emphasis, of course, is what was already reiterated with the important action of magic weapons. When I speak of Raven's Gryffindor, Gryffindor, to the puppet magic, of course. Many of the different layers, there's tons and tons of layers, tons of different areas of mind advancement in those types of developments. For example, a character. Now, and that character could be like developing the focus on developing a character. Like, for example, for one of the things that when I think of character, I think of character, what you do when you think no one is looking. So, character. So, what type of emotions? And for example, those like, motions of, for example, emotions of the hands, emotions of the wrist, of the fingers. It's an extension, of course, of the. For example, this is just one. I mean, there's countless ways to do manifestation, intention, or intention manifestation. I'm digressing. But magic creation simply is not that difficult. For example, it's as simple as intent. Ultimately, and that I mean that in a positive way, especially with the positive, because there's the benevolence factor that literally supports consciousness. So, anyway, another key point is of course that magic essence is one of the grand foundations, and that's what character is built and to design. That's what I was going to say. To design these multiple layers of magic into your, for example, into your repertoire or into your internal library memory, for example, or your mind, if you want to say, or like just in your memory, I guess. Your psychic abilities for magic, or etc. Then that can be embodied in the self, like within. More, of course, because one of the amazing things about this accelerated advancement transcendence is the Phoenix phenomenon. And of course, this is a type of entrance into a phenomenon which is a real thing, and it's not necessarily like a habit or anything like that. It's something completely different. I described OF, ocean fire, which is like 50 feet of transcendence, like a fire of, for example, that's 50 feet tall, for example, or it's an analogy, I guess, but an actual true embodiment of the actual real essence of light, a fire of transcendence, of aura, which is that epic transcendence, which is all over the surface area. And then, of course, there's advanced levels of Phoenix phenomenon. And so that's a type of understanding of the transcendental occurrences. So the phenomenon itself is not the phenomenon of what is the phenomenon that's going on. It's the understanding that the Phoenix phenomenon is occurring. So, it's not, for example, if I were to relate it to a forest fire or a tsunami, it wouldn't be the waves, it would be the idea or just the presence and the awareness of that entire process, which is the tsunami, for example, or the firestorm, or what is it called? Forest fire. Not, of course, that forest fires and tsunamis are great things, but of course, obviously, there's already countless ways to prevent, cure, and easily do many positive results instead of some things that might be considered. Well, actually, let me put it this way: it's an incredibly great form of birth. One of the great ones. So, Phoenix phenomenon is very key. Transcendence, of course, very magnificent, as well as the beauty of not, of course, not only the recognition of the unlimited potential. Within all beings, but of course, not only that cohesion and that closeness, but that palpable. Now it's a palpable type of will force or willpower. There we go. It's a palpable type of willpower. Now, willpower is now very key, of course, to unity, transcendence, and ultimately this heavenly plane that we're existing on, as in, the realm. So, grand emergence of Phoenix phenomenon. It's a wisdom. There you go. It's a level of wisdom. It's like a notch in the wisdom totem pole. Phoenix phenomenon is understood as a certain form of state, or like a subject in school, like literature. Phoenix phenomenon is there. Yeah. And of course, those are added with all the other notches. There's lots of notches, of course. You can create them, and you can manifest them. Whatever type of thought forms can be made, and that's the other key thing. Thought forms combined in, for example, the benevolence factor sphere, and then makes manifestation of those even better, more positive, and grander. Oh, the more specific changes, I guess, or not changes, but more specific transitions are really just designing new, which ultimately does happen a lot, but new forms of, and this is actually quite important, but new forms of jungle gyms, and this is not necessarily for the purpose of to make it bigger, better, and faster, and stronger. Of course, is one of the reasons, but it's to progress the body into, imagine that, to progress into a fully, and ultimately, yes, it is like advanced obstacle course, ultimately. But that would be very important to have that complex. That's that. And the reason why I say that is to start segueing into more advanced, I use the word advanced a lot, to more ascensional skill capability usage. Not only is that type of muscle memory implanted in the mind and in the thought form, but then it can be utilized for when we do grander, because eventually we're gonna have wings and actually be able to fly. It's important that we have proprioception at a rather decent level before we get, we do have proprioception because ultimately it's within our nerves and we have those. But it is important to have proprioception. What I mean by that is like angel wings, like they can grow and develop. 10 feet, 12 feet, perhaps even 15 feet wingspans. Different colors: white, blue, orange, pink, purple, orange, green, orange, gray, or orange. Orange kind of blends in with the sky, with the sun. So I emphasized orange, but or blue, green, or white, even whitish blue, whitish green. The point is, when with that establishment, with those, for example, proprioception cells advances into the cloud forms that I was speaking about, then we can utilize gliding to go from location to location. And then gliding, I guess similar to hang gliders, hang gliding can be a form of transportation, like skateboarding. So that's a very beautiful, simple transition. It's, looking on the bright side, it's efficient, safe, and it's a decent form of transportation. That's a very simple idea. And of course, with ascension added to that, it comes with that ascension mindset has the, when I mean ascension mindset, ultimately, to be more specific and to be more simplistic, is to be creative with thought form instinct thinking, or thought form instinct motion, or thought form instinct behavior, thought form instinct future seeing, development, action, and movement. Another very important part of that aspect is, of course, the development in general of how interactions can be made, because not only is there, for example, multiple ways, multiple styles that come with, for example, skateboarding, tricking, to racing, to, the actual cooperative or competitive organization of such a thing. It can be developed into, of course, a very advanced interactive form of movement thought form. And that's emphasis. So I'm adding thought forms to the thought form, which is emphasis. So I'm gonna try and do that a little bit more, just at least for these broadcasts. So emphasis thought form for wisdom, for development, for key understanding, and for peace, ultimately, and for unity, which is clear, and for ultimately just advancement drive. As in, when I mean by advancement, I mean what do I mean by acceleration, or by transition, or transformation, or ascendance? That is referring to, of course, not only the omniscience, omnipresence, omnipotence, that is in existence within the mind, within my mind and heart and body and soul and spirit, etc. But of course, the overall spiritual evolution of the universe. Now, of course, being realistic, as that which I aim to become, which is that which I've actually already been very good at, and then accelerated incredibly fast. I mean, I guess just to be... Anyway, I'm not going to digress. Getting to the point, ambassador for planet Earth to ambassador for the solar system, or for these 3 planets, including around us, or in this ring area, is a very positive fruition. Once again, we think like planets, and we're just unified. It's just a very natural, comfortable, and there's a welling of like very healthy life, I guess, that wells from inside. So that's good. I love you all. This is your host on this evening edition of Fire for Liberty 2017 to the 25th of July. Love you all.